This is where the fun begins.
Luke. The voice came softly, but insistently. Pausing amid the familiar landscape of Tatooine, familiar yet oddly distorted, Luke Skywalker turned to look. An equally familiar figure stood there watching him. "Hello, Ben," Luke said, his voice sounding sluggish in his ears. "Been a long time." "It has, indeed," Obi-Wan Kenobi said gravely. "And I'm afraid that it will be longer still until the next time. I've come to say goodbye, Luke." The landscape seemed to tremble, and abruptly, a small part of Luke's mind remembered that he was asleep. Asleep in his suite in the Imperial Palace, and dreaming of Ben Kenobi. "No, I'm not a dream," Ben assured him, answering Luke's unspoken thought. "But the distances separating us have become too great for me to appear to you in any other way. Now, even this last path is being closed to me." "No," Luke heard himself say. "You can't leave us, Ben. We need you." Ben's eyebrows lifted slightly, and a hint of his old smile touched his lips. "You don't need me, Luke. You are a Jedi, strong in the Force." The smile faded, and for a moment his eyes seemed to focus on something Luke couldn't see. "At any rate," he added quietly, "the decision is not mine to make. I have lingered too long already, and can no longer postpone my journey from this life to what lies beyond." A memory stirred. Yoda on his deathbed, and Luke pleading with him not to die. "Strong am I in the Force," the Jedi Master had told him softly. "But not that strong." "It is the pattern of all life to move on," Ben reminded him. "You too will face this same journey one day." Again, his attention drifted away, then returned. "You are strong in the Force, Luke, and with perseverance and discipline, you will grow stronger still." His gaze hardened. "But you must never relax your guard. The Emperor is gone, but the dark side is still powerful. Never forget that." "I won't," Luke promised. Ben's face softened, and again he smiled. "You will yet face great dangers, Luke, but you will also find new allies at times and places where you expect them least." "New allies?" Luke echoed. "Who are they?" The vision seemed to waver and become fainter. "And now, farewell," Ben said, as if he hadn't heard the question. "I loved you as a son and as a student and as a friend. Until we meet again, may the Force be with you." "Ben!" But Ben turned, and the image faded, and in the dream, Luke knew he was gone. "Then I am alone," he told himself. "I am the last of the Jedi." He seemed to hear Ben's voice faint and indistinct, as if from a great distance. "Not the last of the old Jedi, Luke. The first of the new." The voice trailed off into silence and was gone.
Good morning and welcome everyone to Coffee Chat. And I began this with that clip because I think it's very important what Obi-Wan Kenobi or Ben has to tell Luke as he's contemplating, being a Jedi and his keeping his word as a teacher and, also being the only Jedi right now. What do you think about that, Stieg?
I just hate it when they use my voice for these audiobooks.
I know, right? And you don't get no commission or anything.
Nope.
Oh my goodness. And welcome everyone again. And what are you enjoying this fine morning, evening, afternoon, or whatever time zone you are in? What is your beverage? And Stig, what are you enjoying?
I'm tolerating water.
Tolerating water. I love how you say that. Tolerating water. Yes. And water is good for you, but when you, it helps keep you healthy and stuff, but sometimes it can feel mundane, I guess you can say. Yes. So, well, I'm glad you're tolerating your water, and let's see who we have in the chats. The real Kim Shady, super early here. Can't wait to talk about the real sequel trilogy. Nice. And then again, I have it's pinned up, and I'll show it right here. Channel members, if you come to our live stream, you'll be entered to win a copy of the Mistress of Rattatak painting. So we do have Lady Toriel. Hello, my friend. How are you doing? Good morning to you, and she will be entered for the drawing for being here. And then Soul Assassin. Hello, everyone, with some peace fingers. What's up? And let's go ahead and go to Christopher Barker. Heir to the Empire remake. Remakes in of themselves are bad thing. Yes.
No, it's not a remake if it doesn't even fit with the movies, which it won't.
Yeah, it won't. And we'll discuss, like, even with this clip.
It's basically approved plagiarism. That's what it is.
Yeah. Of course, Timothy Zahn works for them, so he's going to say, "Go ahead, use it."
Yeah. Watch. Problem is, he doesn't own it. Lucasfilm did, but Timothy Zahn is a sellout. I mean, I saw that interview with him where he was, well, what was it, 8 years ago? And he was saying that would be like a great travesty if they got rid of the EU and all that, and he wasn't for that at all.
Yeah.
And then boom, they get rid of the EU, and then he gets to write more books, and he's fine with it.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, basically. But I think, was he at that interview? And I don't have the clip on me to share that. I don't think he was on that, but I know that there was an interview about, like, before the buyout even happened, it was like just on the eve of the buyout, basically. So it's so close in the year. That I think it was like Leland Shee and someone else, and a fan asked him if, will there ever be a reboot or whatever of the lore, and they're like, hell no, it wouldn't make sense with everything we have, so, but little did they know now, that everything was rebooted. So we have Miss Mark Muses. Hello. And Rezi Kai, the voice talents of the great Mark Thompson. Yes, he's one of my favorite Star Wars narrators. And then I'll probably get demonetized, like, ad wise, because I played that clip and it does have a John Williams score played against it. So we'll see. Miss Martin Muses, hey, I heard Manifest is being picked up by Netflix. Okay, so I know there's that discussion there. Hello, Shane. And let's see who else is here. We have Solis Aston, Shane, Martin Muses. And the Dad Man Walking 55. You are now being entered for the drawing. Congratulations, and I wish you guys all well when it comes to when I have the drawing for that painting. Christopher Barker, Luke, the first of the new generation of Jedi. In Disney canon, there are none. The mouse killed them, right? That's the thing. And we'll get to that because I thought this is a very important clip to play as we start our discussion. And then let's see here. Everybody's all talking about it right now. And then we have Seth Theriot. Hello with the hand wave. And we have Rev Kev. Yay! How are you doing? Hey, everyone. Hope you're all keeping well. And I hope you are too. And this morning I did watch his video about the rumored inclusion of how Mara Jade could be included. He did a video on that. So you guys go check it out. I think someone wrote about it in an article. But we won't get into that just yet. So go check out his channel, and his name is now entered for the drawing. Let's see here.
What though? Even if they do Mara Jade right, if they somehow manage to make a good Mara Jade, right?
Mm-hmm.
they killed her off before the sequel trilogy. Because they have to have done that. She's not in there.
Yeah.
And Luke is the last Jedi. That the title.
Yeah.
It's in the title.
Right.
So yeah. It's wasted.
It's a wasted opportunity because even how she dies in the original lore, it had meaning for one of the the Skywalker family members for him to go Sith, and that's now taken away. I mean, mind you, there's a lot of people who don't like the fact that she died, right? And how she died and all that, but there's still a meaning behind that that's taken away, and it's gonna. If they bring her in, they're still going to have to kill her off. And so there you go. And it might not be as meaningful. I mean.
Yeah. Well, the Mara Jade's death was a bit ham-fisted. It was. But I don't know.
Yeah.
Not every death has to be like some ultimate epic sacrifice either.
No.
No. You do like, Crix Maydeen got shot in the stomach.
Yeah.
That's it. Dead.
Yeah.
I mean, sometimes that's even more effective because it's sudden.
Yeah. And right here. So I was going to wait till later till we get into this type of discussion, but Christopher Barker has a good time. Imagine Ahsoka and Mara Jade being a couple in Disney canon. No, my thing is that because if that ever happens and they use the themes and stuff for the Ahsoka series, because they never announced that they're going to do an Heir to the Empire or Thrawn Trilogy, series, right? They are doing an Ahsoka series where she looks for Thrawn, right? So everybody's like thinking, okay, well, Mount Tantus, this, they're going to do Thrawn Trilogy, right? Which is not an indication really, but still, Ahsoka is going to be in there. No one's going to be better than Ahsoka.
No, and if you watch Rebels, which is Disney canon, Rebels is canon now. Thrawn is utterly incompetent.
Right.
In Rebels. I mean, he keeps talking about art and stuff, but he's dumb. Yeah. I mean, he captures the rebels and then leaves like an obvious opening for them to escape. And then they use that opening and escape, and he's pissed when it happens. It's Gargamel.
Yeah.
It is. I mean, and this is he's supposed to be a threat to the New Republic. It wasn't even a threat to a couple of thousand rebels.
Right.
Right. Including Aladdin and his blue monkey friend. He couldn't even outsmart them.
Right. And the thing is, and I pointed this out too, is the New Republic didn't know Grand Admiral Thrawn existed, right? They were like, no, we got all the Thrawns. Remember, they said they counted for all the Thrawns, all the Grand Admirals, and they were like, there can't be. And then then they went back and were like, well, Palpatine was prejudiced against aliens, so this is impossible for him to be a Grand Admiral, kind of deal. Whereas in the new lore, they know all about him because they already fought against him in Rebels.
Yeah, so no surprise. But the thing is, though, if he comes back, which he will, it's a gigantic plot hole.
Yeah.
Because when he vanished, there was a tentacle beast that had smashed the front window of the Star Destroyer it was in, right?
Yeah.
And he made the jump from within the planet's gravity, which is impossible. But even if he did, all the particles and pieces of the rocks and all kinds of stuff in space, imagine that in hyperspace, at hyperspace speed, pouring in through the open window. They would have been riddled with basically bullet holes at light speed. And I see people try to defend it because, there's a shield and stuff. Yeah, but that shield doesn't seem to block, physical penetration, does it? Because the tentacle beast is straight through.
Yeah.
Which means space dusts and rocks will follow through as well because it's both organic.
Right.
So, yeah, both him and Ezra should have been dead the second they entered hyperspace.
Right.
And that beast as well should have been ripped apart.
Yeah, right. But yeah, so let's just move on from that and we'll get to some major points here. So let's get into Heir to the Empire. So like I said, we may talk about the whole trilogy, but I just, we're talking about Heir to the Empire right now. Stig, so what was your first impression when you first read Heir to the Empire? Because that's one thing that first came out, and it was such a success that, the trilogy happened. And then it opened the door for the EU for a coherent continuity. So
when I got into the EU novels, the continuity was already in place. The EU had happened. I started reading around, I think it was a bit after Vector Prime came out.
Yeah.
So they already had, the Bantam era was done, and it was done.
Yeah.
So, Del Rey had taken over. But I don't remember when I read Heir to the Empire and, the Thrawn trilogy, but it wasn't the first books I read.
Okay.
I think I might have read most of the New Jedi Order before I read the Thrawn trilogy.
Okay.
But the thing is, though, a lot of people, most people, see the EU as a line, like a timeline, a straight line. Lately, I thought about it, and I don't think a line is correct. It should be a circle, with the important books in the center, the Thrawn trilogy being one of them, because everything else springs out from that. Right? So if you have like several circles within the circles,
yeah,
and you grade them by importance, I guess, to the overall story, you'd have the Thrawn trilogy at dead center.
Yeah,
it's pretty much ground zero for the EU, because that's when it became a thing, right?
Right.
And in the outer circle, you'll have books like Death Troopers and stuff that are just one-offs and never mentioned again.
Yeah.
But that's how I kind of see it now, though.
Yeah, it's like the epicenter to creating a coherent continuity and establishing, basically establishing the Star Wars history in one seamless line. And I get where you say, it's circle, High Last Jedi 22. It's like
a dartboard almost.
Yeah. Yeah. Because after they decided in 94 to start creating a coherent continuity timeline, there was things that were pushed into what is called infinities or non-canon. People could still enjoy them, but it's not a part of the continuity, right? And then they started, wrapping things up. So things that were done in like the Thrawn trilogy, and even in Dark Empire, because those two came out, like Dark Empire came out first and then Thrawn, they were kind of side by side coming out, but the Dark Empire came out first. They didn't fully match up to a few things that happened in the Clone Wars, because they were written first and George wasn't really fully set on which way he wanted to go with the Clone Wars, and stuff like that. But they're very, very minor. And you'll still get people on like Twitter and social media basically saying, well, what do you think about like Heir to the Empire and even Dark Empire, because it doesn't line up with the Clone Wars, blah, 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 kind of, trying to talk down the EU. And I'm like, first of all, 94 is when they decided to do the continuity route, right? And keep everything coherent. But when you look at those two, like Dark Empire was made before Lucas decided to do, fully hash out the prequel trilogy, right? And so, but then when you look at Heir to the Empire or the Thrawn trilogy, there's just very, very minor discrepancies that it could be, even stated as like maybe the history of that's it's not fully being understand, or propaganda where the Empire reported events that didn't happen exactly where they're supposed to happen, kind of deal. So that's the thing I see with that. I think it's very, very minor. And as we get along in the EU and we get more stories written, it starts to come a little bit more fluid, I guess you can say. It took some time. Yeah.
You can debunk it right away, because the the movies are on a higher canon tier than the books.
Mhm.
Simple as that. So whatever happens in the books doesn't really affect the movies at all.
No, it doesn't.
But they can't fault writers for not being psychic.
Yeah, exactly.
They didn't know what George was going to put in the prequels.
Mm-hmm.
And if it hadn't been for the books, there wouldn't have been prequels.
Right.
Because the books and the comics and the video games and the toys finance the prequels. Star Wars Episode 1 is technically an independent movie.
Yeah. And the thing too with this is that we I forgot my train of thought there now. With all of that and stuff. Oh yeah, now I remember. George even, was like when Thrawn was writing, and the early writers, they got copies or they got all the Weston game stuff to help them out, right? And it was, George is the one that says, here, take these and do your research. And it was the Weston games. And so there was still continuity being considered. However, George, I think one of the main discrepancies with Heir to the Empire was just basically was when the Clone Wars timeline was mentioned, and that's it. Basically, there might be a few other little minor things that I'm not thinking of right now, but they're very, very minor. But again, the books don't affect the movies and stuff, and all that. And it, like I said, it could be retcon later to fix it down the line, whatever. But the goal was from this point on was to creating a continuity, a seamless continuity as much as they can. It's such a huge property that there are still some slip up and mistakes. No one's perfect, right? So there we go. And then Christopher Barker says, the EU is just one timeline. I hear all the time that Disney canon is going to use the world between worlds to fix, quote unquote, fix Star Wars. But I got some bad news. It'll still suck.
Yeah. And you want to know something else? The people who are saying they're going to use the world between worlds are the same people who have said Kathleen Kennedy is being fired. How many times is it now? 26 times?
Something don't know. Like that. I don't know my time. I'm done with it. I'm done with it. I sound like I'm defending her, but I'm not. It's just that if she was going to be fired or let go or whatever, she wouldn't have gotten all these major projects.
Yeah. Oh, and fun fact, she and the story group were actually heavily involved with writing The Mandalorian and the other Disney Plus shows. So if you've been supporting them, you've been supporting Kathleen Kennedy, which is why she probably kept her job in the first place. Well done.
Yeah, but here we go. So let's get back to Heir to the Empire. So we have Han Solo here. I'm not reviewing the comics, I'm just using it as visuals. Okay, so this is not like a viewing like how we did with the other ones. We'll probably even skip these because there's no need to review them like fully like how we've been doing the other comics. But we do have Han Solo here, and Han Solo is still working for the New Republic. He's still happily married. He's on assignment. They're looking for, smugglers to help transport and goods and stuff like that, and, because they're still short on resources. They're a newly formed government. They're still short on resources. This is like 5 years after the Battle of Endor and stuff. So they're still relatively new. And whereas we have Han Solo in the new lore, where by this time he is basically on his own again, still married, I guess you could say, but estranged, and he's out racing and just being a scoundrel, back to his stuff like how he was in A New Hope. So that's the difference right there. That's the difference. And I made a huge long tweet, trying to point out some things here and there. And I was like, shit, this just keeps longer, gets longer and longer and longer and longer and longer because it does not fit. Now,
you know what else won't fit?
What?
If they adapt the Thrawn trilogy and stuff, they need to change the ending because that fucking idiot, Dave Filoni, killed off the character that kills Thrawn.
Right.
The Thrawn trilogy. Killed him off in Rebels.
Right.
idiots cheering for this. I'm like, yeah, the ending's going to get changed. Which actually, the ending is impactful.
Right.
There's a reason why the ending is the way it is. And Filoni has already torpedoed that.
Yeah. Right.
It's basically like, I don't know, killing off Vader before Return of the Jedi. You know? You won't get the same. The ending is actually a bit similar.
Yeah.
Because, the slave kills his master, right?
There you go.
Oh.
It's all good there. And so
Orange Hat Review says Thrawn in the EU was killed by a Nogri. Yeah. And Dave Filoni killed off that particular Nogri on Rebels.
Right.
That's how smart he is.
Right. And so let's go back to the beloved heir to the Empire. With this scene right here and knowing Han, what did you feel about Han when you read about him in Heir to the Empire? I'm like almost like interviewing you regarding this. Go ahead.
What did I feel about what?
How did you feel, or what was your impression about Han in Heir to the Empire? Like when, we pick up where he is trying to, do a deal with smugglers to work for the New Republic.
I just thought it fit. Seemed like something Han Solo would do. He's using his own resources as best he can to aid the rebellion, or rather the New Republic in this case. But I don't know. To be honest, Han Solo was more interesting to me in the old trilogy than he ever was in the EU.
Yeah,
I never thought it was that interesting in the EU. I like him, absolutely, but he slipped from being one of my favorites to, basically he dropped from a 9 out of 10 to a 7 out of 10.
Okay, so did his mysterious like demeanor kind of diminish once the EU started like fleshing him out more? Is that how you seen it?
I don't know. I just, he's a smuggler and all, and I always thought his development could only go so far, because he wasn't involved with the Force or anything, and he wasn't like Wedge. He wasn't leading a cool squadron of ships, and so I always thought he kind of it was fun to read the Han Solo chapters though, but it wasn't like, oh yes, a Han Solo chapter, right? Speaking of something that's a 1 out of 10, Wilkins is in the chat.
I know, I've seen that. You're so cruel. All right, but I guess this is warranted. I don't know. Matt Wilkins, don't let the sound of Stig's voice destroy your morning, folks. All right. So yeah, with Han, I have a different take. I loved seeing his journey through the OT, from A New Hope all the way to Return of the Jedi, right? So I was captivated on how he was going to be in the EU. And I think they did him well. And one pivotal part where some may not agree with me, but in the New Jedi Order, after the loss of Chewie, spoilers, sorry. If you don't know this, then I don't know where you guys have been sitting under a rock or something. I don't know. But anyways, and how he reacted to that, I thought that was very in character for him and for him and for him and Chewie and stuff. And that people and even parents and loved ones act crazy, act out of normalcy when something significant, when they go through a significant loss. And
I think that scene and Han's reaction was written perfectly,
right?
Beyond perfect, really. It was the author nailed it, right?
And so that was that was very emotional, very pivotal. And even how he acted afterwards, because he was going off and drinking all the time and trying to find his way to find himself again, and knowing that he's not going to have his best friend by his side, ignoring responsibilities and stuff like that. That's true grievance and stuff like that, and mourning and everything like that. And the extreme part of it, but that does happen, right? And I'm not gonna say they made him more human for me, because he was already human. I already understood him. I didn't need that so-called banter that people use for the Jake Skywalker now. Oh, they made him more human. Yes.
I actually thought it fit his character perfectly, because
right.
If you see in the in the old trilogy and stuff, Han has a tendency to blame others.
Right.
Right. It's not my fault and all that.
Mm-hmm.
And him blaming Anakin, I thought it fit.
Right. Yeah, I did too. I've had people have told me, I don't like it. I don't like that part. I don't like the New Jedi Order in the beginning because of that. And I'm like, do you understand that, he's mourning, and that was such a shock, losing a planet and, trying to rescue people that you can't all fit inside one ship. Right. And then rushing so you don't get killed by the collapsing moon that's being pulled down by the Vong. I forgot what the thing is called. It's not a I forgot Dove and Basil or whatever that's pulling it down, right?
And it's basically a tractor beam pulling down the moon.
Yeah, it's like an organic tractor beam, right? And then and working in such dire needs to get everybody out of there, right? And then Chewie actually being who he is and protecting out of his oath,
basically fulfilling his oath.
Mm-hmm, exactly.
But Chewie went down like a boss, and I remember Star Wars fans threatening the author.
Mm-hmm.
Bob Salvatore was being threatened, and he didn't play the victim because of that. He didn't do a bunch of videos saying, "Oh, I'm being threatened," and blah blah blah. He took it in the stride because he knew that people cared. And isn't it weird though? If the EU was never canon, why would people care?
Right.
Why
it wouldn't matter if they died, because then they'd be back again if it wasn't canon and there wasn't a continuity, right? It would have been just like, oh well, he's dead here, but later on he's gonna come back alive. It wasn't like that at all. Nope. And it had meaning and it had depth, and it took you on a journey outside of your own reality.
Talon Card in the picture, that's Lady Toriel's favorite EU character, I believe.
Right. She loves him. In fact, when I interviewed her, that was the image that I used for the thumbnail for her interview on Talking EU. Yeah. And so now we're going to get here. Like I said, we're not reviewing the comic. I'm just using it as just visuals, right? So we can kind of get an idea here. And we have Talon Card and we have Mara Jade. They are very, very significant. I think they are a great addition to the EU. And every author basically had some kind of character that they brought in that somehow impacted the storyline or the history, right? These two are, phenomenal. I love them. Go ahead.
Well, it's like I've said before. If you have a couple of characters that completely represents the EU, Mara Jade is one of them because she was born in the EU, right?
Mm-hmm.
And she's iconic.
Right.
It's her and Kal Katarn.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, both of them had video games. Kal Katarn had several video games.
Yeah.
And they're both 100% EU.
Right. And then so we could say Card too, but I mean, he did have impact, but not as great as Mara and Kyle.
Yeah, and it doesn't have an iconic look, and it doesn't. He kind of serves best in the background.
Mm-hmm.
Helping out and stuff, but he never got a book centered on himself, or he's kind of almost like Akbar, isn't he?
Right, in a sense, Sarah. And the thing that I'm going to point out here, and so we're going to go back into compare and contrast between, if these rumors are true or not, whatever. But Talon Card became who he was because he picked up everything after the fall of Jabba, and also after the fall of George Cardass, who he worked for. But he became significant because he basically picked up, and it's even spoken about here in when you read the book, right? That he became significant, and his organization grew because that void at the time, Jabba was the leading smuggler, scoundrel, whatever you want to call him, crime lord, I guess you can say. And after his fall, after his defeat, Talon Card, basically the cards were in his favor. No, well, pun intended, I guess you could say. But
well, you aced that one.
Right? And
you should perform in clubs.
Oh my God, no! You would do better. Anyways, so there you go. So that he's so significant with that. Now in the new lore, Boba Fett takes over, which doesn't feel right to me because Boba Fett was always a loner. He even tries to be. Go ahead.
You know what also doesn't make sense? Because the Mandalorian retconned their own lore.
Mm-hmm.
By having the Imperials occupy Tatooine.
Yeah.
And they were occupying Tatooine when the Death Star blew up, the third one, because we see that in The Mandalorian.
Mm-hmm.
Which means Jabba wasn't in charge of Tatooine during Return of the Jedi.
Yeah.
The Empire Wars. So how the shit did Luke and Lando and the others get the Falcon onto Tatooine then? Mm-hmm. It would have gotten scanned right away.
Yeah.
And so Jabba wasn't even he wasn't in charge of anything. Thanks to the Mandalorian.
Yeah.
The Empire had occupied it for some reason. Nobody knows. There's nothing there to occupy, and it's in Hutt space. And I think even the Clone Wars delves into how the Hutts are to be left alone.
Right.
They're a big power, right?
Yeah.
So the Empire just screwed with the Hutts by occupying Tatooine, which means they should be at war with the Hutts.
Right.
So it makes, if anyone says that the Mandalorian is good storytelling and it adds to Star Wars, it doesn't. It actually messes up the whole Disney canon and the movie canon too. It screws up Return of the Jedi. And that's not counting the hyperspace issues they have in that show, but also it actually managed to make every person living on Tatooine a damn idiot. When they changed the Krayt Dragon to a worm that burrows underground.
Yeah.
Why the hell would farmers build their homes underground if the biggest threat on the planet is a big monster that burrows underground?
Right.
It could literally come through their walls at any second.
Yeah.
I mean, it can't get any dumber than that.
Yeah. All right. So, Lady Toro, you have a great point here. Mara is sexy, smart, warrior, just what a strong character should be. Heart, sparkle, heart.
Warrior Chat says the Empire had a scant presence on Tatooine. It wasn't so much an occupation. Yes, it was an occupation because it says so. They said so in The Mandalorian.
Yeah.
The Imperial occupation ended. That's what they said. Yeah.
When you read Kenobi novel, they do go in and seize the Republic's little base or little facility there, right?
Yeah.
But there's not a huge occupation. They're just, basically scouting territory for the Empire, blah, blah, blah. And there is a very minimal presence, but the Hutts still have control of it. And the Empire does use them now and then. I think there's some kind of, I wouldn't say pact, but understanding. And they just leave them alone. It's like an outer rim world. They just leave it alone.
Yeah, they did have a minimal presence after Revenge of the Sith. But then they left.
Yeah.
Which is why there's no Imperial base or anything on Tatooine during
Yeah. And Soul Assassin, you're right. Boba Fett wasn't the leader type. In fact, he reluctantly led the Mandalorians. Yes, he wanted to do that to fulfill his father's or Jango's wishes of him, because Boba was created to honor Justa Maril and become a Mandalore, right? So if you get into the lore and you read more into that background, that's where Boba Fett felt obligated, where his obligations were, right? And he still took it reluctantly, becoming a Mandalore. And we see that, we see him become a Mandalore and in the New Jedi Order, and he still is going up into Legacy.
Yeah, because he is a Mandalorian.
Correct.
And Filoni has said he isn't, and he is, and then he isn't again.
Right.
He's retconned it 3 times.
Yeah.
All he had to do was read the Jango Fett graphic novel that he stole from anyway. If he had just read it, that would have solved everything. But he was just
right.
He just gave backstory to what's his name, Din Djarin.
Yeah. Din Djarin or something like that. Yeah. So let's get back here. So we have Mara Jade here. I mean, she's going to meet, and like I said, we're not really reviewing the comics. I'm just using as visuals, but I'm just going to go ahead and explain what's going on here, because this is even in the novel. So this is why I'm not reviewing these comics. We're not going to review them once we get there, because it's already in the novel. We're just seeing visuals, right? I want to give you guys something that's not in the novels and that kind of feels in between, right?
And I think we have reviewed this trilogy on your channel, the books, right. I mean.
Yeah, the novels, yeah. And so these two are very much significant here. And Mara Jade, how she gets to this point is, she is sent out. So basically, she's not present with the Emperor when he gets destroyed by Vader and the Death Star 2 gets destroyed, right? And so now she came into Talon Card's organization, after, I guess you could say she was orphaned, if you want to call it that. And she's a very, very strong female lead. She's very sassy. She holds her own. Her character doesn't, undermine any male character either. She could stand strong on her own. She can stand strong with male characters and without demeaning them. And that's a very good writing. But now people are like, well, we need female characters because they didn't have them. And when we see the female characters come in, they undermine the male characters.
Yeah. And this is something, it's in the same alley. Something that was happening constantly on the Clone Wars and Rebels. And it was the villains. Every time the villains ran into Ahsoka or some of the other main characters, their threat level took a dive, as did their intelligence. Right. Grievous is a huge threat and all until he meets Ahsoka. Then she kind of holds her own against him. Darth Maul is a huge threat, and he's so dangerous. Unarmed Ahsoka defeats him when she's a teenager.
Yeah.
So how big of a threat is he? I mean, even Dooku was, level drained, for lack of a better term. And Ventress was a joke.
Yeah.
I mean, she killed some clone troopers, but that's, no-name characters anyway.
Yeah.
It's like the Roger droids.
Yeah.
But she never even, in the comics we've been reviewing, she's a beast.
Right.
The Old Republic comics. But I think she killed 3 or 4 Jedi in one comic. And maimed the couple and gave Anakin his scar.
Right.
Which is actually in the fun fact, the official Revenge of the Sith guide released by Lucasfilm before the movie came out.
Yeah.
Anakin's scar is explained. He got it from Ventress in I can't remember the book.
Yeah.
But it's right there on the Anakin page.
Yeah. And on top of that, when people are questioning, well, where did Anakin get the scar when we seen it in the Revenge of the Sith? George even said it'll be explained in the EU, basically. And I'm paraphrasing, but basically, it's up for the authors to let you guys know that. So if that wasn't canon, then he wouldn't be saying that.
Why put something that isn't canon into the official guide of a canon movie? Right.
Right. And so speaking of Ventress right here, here's the painting here. I can't wait to get the prints back, but I'm super excited for this. And so any member, and if you become a member of my channel today or anytime, and then you come onto a live stream, and then your name will be entered for the drawing for this painting. The drawing will happen in October, in the beginning of October. I just haven't set the date. I might even just do it on a coffee chat. So we'll see. So that will be announced here shortly, but you'll, get a copy. This is oil painting, my painting. It's on panel board. I'm really excited to see who gets to win this. And I will also have copies made so you can purchase, and all channel members will get 10% off on purchasing a copy of the painting as well.
I don't want it because I don't have wall space.
And that's like the fourth or fifth time you said that. He's like, I don't want it because of that.
Send me a wall.
Send me a wall so I can get paintings. Okay.
Yeah.
Lost Jedi 22. Disney will make her a victim of the Empire's patriarchy out for vengeance. They'll make her Black Widow in space. Oh my God. No.
You know what I think? I think she's going to be one of the Inquisitors. Oh, and then what Lost Jedi said. I think he's dead on the money.
Yeah, he could be. And if they make her Inquisitor, then they change her.
Oh, they have to change her anyway.
Right.
Because the Empire didn't have Empire's hand.
Oh, no, they do. I looked it up. They do. But she's not.
Do. He does that in Disney canon?
It was. I think it's in the comics or something like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Still, where is she in sequel trilogy then?
Right. Like go ahead.
No mention of her at all. Nothing.
Mm-hmm.
I bet you they're gonna have Kylo kill her though.
Because
yeah, but given how useless he is, that'll undermine her big time.
Yeah,
because EU Mara Jade would have destroyed Kylo Ren.
Mm-hmm.
In less than a minute, I think it would have been a no contest.
Yeah. I have streamed with Anna, and her last stream that she did not too long ago, and Raging Rhino were on there. I was on there modding a little bit because I do mod for now and then for Anna's or that Star Wars Girls channel, and we did discuss. She was discussing her paintings, and I did, put a few things out there, and so she's a great painter too, great artist. Has some great work out there. So you guys go ahead and check out her channel as well, her painting channel, especially. So Steve, go ahead.
I spoke to her once too.
Mm-hmm.
She was on, I think it was on Rhino's channel. They were, it was Rhino or Lethal. They were bashing some insane Star Wars YouTuber going through his video. And I was on and Anna was on. She was nice lady.
Yeah. And then Soul Assassin, I vaguely remember seeing a fan art of Star Killer and Mara Jade as Inquisitors being passed around on Twitter. Yeah, fan art people, that's fine. People have their own little ideals and what ifs kind of deal. And that's the fun of Star Wars, right? But when you start seeing characters being changed or inserted and stuff like that, and you grow to love them, and they were developed in a lore and became fan favorites, when you rewrite them, it doesn't do them any good. It doesn't do them justice.
No, and it's not implausible for Mara Jade to have met Starkiller at some point.
Yeah.
Because they're about the same age.
Right.
But if you retroactively change a character, it's never good, because the character worked the first time, and it did so for a reason. So if you change that, you're running a huge risk of destroying what made them work in the first place, which is something we've seen a lot in Disney Star Wars. Mm-hmm. Even Boba Fett, right? If you watch The Mandalorian, he's kind of a pussy.
Yeah.
I mean, he gets beaten up by that angry henchwoman lady, and talked over all the time and put in his place. I mean, that's not Boba Fett. I mean, Vader tried to put him in his place.
Yeah.
And it didn't work.
Even his own freaking granddaughter tried to put him in his place, and he was basically he went at her. And then he realized, oh shit, she's a Fett.
Yeah, I mean, Boba Fett talked back to Vader.
Mm-hmm.
because he was confident he could take him.
Yeah.
Right? But then he gets chastised by Bo-Katan. Really?
Mm-hmm.
He has more respect for her than Vader?
Yeah.
Come on.
Yeah. All right, so this is here. Okay, EU Mara Jade and EU Star Killer. That would be a fun story to read. It was fun even seeing Mara Jade interacting with Vader in Allegiance, where Vader is obsessed with getting to Leia Organa, to get to, of course, Luke Skywalker. He's like he's got this narrow sight vision on wanting to get to Luke Skywalker some way, shape, or form. And in that story, she's trying to, solve, I guess you guess to say, a mystery of, of a Moff or what have you. I'm not going to go too much into the story, so I'm not going to give you any spoilers. And so Vader and her have this confrontation and misunderstanding where they fight each other a little bit. And then they come to their reasonings, and Vader is still acting like still boss to her, I guess you can say. Still holds his own. And she still holds her own, but she steps back a little bit because she realized that she could be taken. And God, that seems just a fun read and stuff. You guys got to read it. It's called Allegiance. And so that was such a great interaction between the two, because you had the Sith apprentice and then the Emperor's hand. And Vader is very, very cold to her no matter what. Even when they agree, he looks down on her.
He looks down on everyone.
Well, yeah, but still. Yeah. But that was such a good, little scene there to read and stuff. And so she, again, Vader's, even though they come to a draw in their fight, he is not diminished because she's a female character, nor is she diminished because of him. You understand him and you understand her and why he reacts to her, and it makes sense.
Yeah. Orange Hat Review says Mara Jade versus Star Killer sounds like a VS stream. Well, yeah, but you have to keep in mind that the novel is the canon. Star Killer.
Yeah.
The video game was intentionally created to be kind of like haywire when it came to the Force powers.
Yeah.
You can actually see the interview about that in the graphic novel. I found it. That's when they also said it's canon. Yeah. So, but the novel is the canon Star Killer. But it would have been an interesting fight, though.
Right.
But
go ahead.
Would it be Mara Jade as a Jedi Master against Star Killer, or Mara Jade from that same time period as?
Yeah, that's where you have to go. Yeah, that's where you have to go. So there you go. And so I know we talked a little bit more about about Talon-Karrde here and Mara Jade. So Stig, when you first read about Mara Jade, her as a character, what were your thoughts about her?
My first thought was she's hot.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I knew about Mara Jade before I read about her because she was in the Mysteries of the Sith video game. She's the protagonist.
Okay.
So I had played that. You play as Kyle Katarn a little bit, and then he falls to the dark side. And you play as Mara Jade, and then you kind of battle through the game and all, and you save Kyle Katarn.
Yeah.
And so that was my introduction to Mara Jade. And back then I didn't think anything else of it. I thought it was just a regular, another Jedi, right?
Right.
But then I was reading the books and all. I'm like, Mara Jade, that sounds familiar. Oh yeah, it's a chick from the video game.
Yeah. Yes. Go ahead and take the chat with the chat real quick. I'll be right back.
Okay, I'll chat with the chat while you're The Blue Pig Gaming says Waru versus Mount Sorrow versus. Oh, it's gotta be Waru because Yeah. Anyway, let's see what else. Christopher Barker says, gotta respect the women in Disney canon or else. Absolutely. As long as they're female, they can't be bad. So as says, Mara Jade, Emperor's Hand versus Starkiller as an apprentice would have been a good fight. Yes, that would have been a more even fight. Absolutely. My mic is very quiet. Can't hear you. Okay. Can everyone hear me fine in the chat? MB Geek says, my first experience with Mara Jade was in the trilogy and enjoyed her so much. I got Mara Jade by the Emperor's Hand. Good comic. Apparently my microphone is low.
It was staticky, but now you sound better. Talk again.
It's static. Really?
Yeah, it was staticky and now it stopped.
Is it better now?
Yeah.
Okay, I just moved it closer.
Okay, there you go. All right, so we do have Raj H.
There's been no traffic outside. Actually, yes, there has been. My bad.
He's like, this is your morning Star Wars, our coffee chat traffic review. That was I think you heard some traffic go by my house. But anyways, we have Raj H with a Canadian 199 super sticker. And thank you for coming in. And your name will now be added to the drawing for the painting as well. So again, so we have that. We have the animal voinsters that we learned about here. And so what do you think about them being predators of Force users? Basically, like that's in a nutshell.
I thought it was convenient to the story.
Yeah.
They're fine. There's new type of animal and we need a threat for Luke and all that. But I don't know. I didn't think too much of them, to be honest.
Yeah. Some people yes, we're gonna see voinksters in the new lore, blah blah blah. Because everybody's like thinking that the Heir to the Empire or Thrawn trilogy is gonna be in there somehow, beat by beat. It seems like that's the impression I'm getting with that, and I kind of find it laughable, and so on. So, but
I never liked the artwork in these comics.
Yeah.
I mean, if you look at the top one, look at Thrawn. It looks weird. It looks like something out of Donald Duck, right?
Right. Yes. So let's move on with talking about Heir to the Empire. So we have Luke here. We have Luke, and what do you think about him like still being kind of cautious and nervous about training new Jedi, like being, like training his sister, if he's going to be significant enough? There's always the fear of someone turning to the dark side. So, he has that fear as well. And then training his soon to be, niece and nephew. So how did you feel about that little, like how he's dealing with these areas of self-doubt, which, of course, in the original lore, even in his self-doubt, he didn't run away, right? He didn't run away from his responsibilities. He met them face on, right? So what do you think about that, Steve?
I think it's natural that he has doubts about that.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he has responsibilities to his family, basically.
Yeah.
With the Force training, and he doesn't know enough about it.
Yeah.
Because he's used to being guided by Yoda and Kenobi.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, Kenobi leaves. He's gone. Mm-hmm. Poof. Moves to Norway. And, it feels completely organic,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I know. And then even with him, like sensing how his sister feels and how Leia goes and checks up on him, or like through C-3PO and her concerns about him. Whereas in the new lore, they're basically estranged already. He's already like, I'm not. And even in the early stages or towards Return of the Jedi, he basically is like, I can't fight for the new the rebellion. And he has doubts of himself and kind of leaves them in a sense. That's in the comics.
Yeah. And if only Luke had just downloaded the Force powers from Yoda and Kenobi, then there would be no problem.
Right.
All he had to do was do what Rey did.
Right. He could just reach his hand out before Yoda dies and, learns right there and there.
Yeah, just poke him with a finger.
Yeah. Okay, old man, give me all your powers and then bye. Hasta la vista, baby.
Yep.
Oh my God. It's such a, you can't make sense of this anymore. It's like just one continuous laughing meme when it comes to the new lore. So yeah, it's crazy here. So now we're going to get into basically.
Side note, Sabayoth, right?
Yeah.
Rutger Hauer would have been a perfect Sabayoth.
Right.
I don't know if people in the chat would agree with me on that, but
I see it.
Yeah, Rutger Hauer in his 60s or 70s. I always thought he would have been a good one because he can play a psycho.
Oh yeah.
Just watch The Hitcher.
Right. So now everybody's going to explore that now. But yeah. Yep. So we have this here. So we do see in the novel and even in the comic right here. And the comics are basically just going point by point for the plot, right? So you don't get a lot of stuff, but you do get a lot of the plot. We have Thrawn coming after Sabayoth here. And Sabayoth was created by Palpatine. I think he was created during or just shortly after or around the Clone Wars era. And he took over the Guardian and took over Mount Tantus on Wayland. And then now that Thrawn makes his return, he wants Sabayoth to help him defeat the New Republic, right? And that's the whole arc here in short. And so he goes and retrieves them basically here. So when you first seen Juris Sabayoth, what was your impression about him? And people in the chat too.
I never liked him.
Okay, fair enough.
I never liked that character at all.
Okay.
He's my least favorite in this trilogy. He has to be there for the story and all that, but I thought it was cartoon villain-ish.
Yeah. Last Jedi 22. Nah. Coked out of his mind Gary Busey for Sabayoth.
Yep. I can see that though.
I met him in person at a friggin' powwow in Malibu. Oh my God, that guy is trippy.
Yeah, I saw him he had a small part in the, remember when they made that Piranha 3D movie?
Yeah.
He was in the second one, it was called Piranha 3DD.
Yeah.
It's like Baywatch-ish at some point, but
yeah.
Gary Busey gets eaten by them at the beginning, but he manages to bite one of them to death. He comes out of the water with a piranha in his mouth and bites it to death before he dies.
Yeah. That's funny. Yeah, but oh my God. Lost Jedi. I'm losing my voice. Damn it. All right. So let's see here. Soul Assassin says Rutger. Yeah. Oh, the dude from Blade Runner. Oh yeah, I could see that. Yeah. And then the clone Sabayoth was basically an insane dark version of Obi-Wan. Is that how you seen that? What do you think, Stig?
Well, I think that was intended too.
Yeah.
It was supposed to be a dark, crazy Obi-Wan.
Yeah, there you go. And Gary Busey's legend is a legend.
I saw an interview with him. Was sitting on a hill or something. And he was talking about how the hobbits and the Lord of the Rings, they know something we don't.
Yeah.
About life and stuff. He was getting deep on it too. I was like, awesome.
Yeah. Yeah. And then it says Blue Pig right here. Wow, Sabayoth in the Clone Wars showed everything a Jedi shouldn't be, while Obi-Wan showed everything Jedi should be. Yeah, you have a point there. I mean, he even declared himself. He was a self-declared master. So, and then, so they are a bit of a foil, aren't they? let's see here. And then Dad Man Walking. Maybe Nick Nolte could be a consideration, but hard to beat Busey. That's hilarious. That is hilarious. And Christopher Lee as Sabayoth, he nearly was like Saruman. There we go. Let's see here. Yeah. And so we have this here, and I get what they were trying to do with, Thrawn or Zahn was trying to do with this, because they needed some kind of Vader-ish kind of character. And this time you would say like the superior is a non-force user, and then the underling is a force user. So kind of different than the Empire and Vader kind of thing.
The thing is, Thrawn represents the military threat.
Yes.
And Sabayoth represents the force threat. Right.
And so we have that here. And what are your thoughts? Like if these suspicions, these theories, these rumors do come true, how would you feel about Sabayoth? Like, who do you think that they could properly? We know the answer, but do you think he would be done well, or do you think they would change his character to a different character, like even use someone totally
they're
different?
going to change him.
Mm-hmm.
Because, I think so. I wouldn't be surprised if Ezra wasn't a Sabayoth character.
Yeah, and that's what people are hinting. Ezra is a Sabayoth character. Then we have
Ezra
Mara instead.
Ezra is arguably the most soy character that has ever been created for Star Wars.
Yeah.
And he's going to be Sabayoth. And the way Filoni writes as if the audience is 6 years old. And that's how the Clone Wars was announced as well. The target audience was boys aged 6 and up.
Yeah.
Right. And he has kept writing like that since.
Mm-hmm.
And which is why the plots and stuff are so cartoony, and it's almost like watching 80s cartoons.
Yeah.
As it's pretty much only filler with just a couple of things tying it together.
Mm-hmm.
And that there's episodes released out of order and stuff, and that happened with the Clone Wars too. Might not be his fault though, but it has that sloppy thing. It's like they're doing a cartoon to sell you something, and they don't really worry about the rest of the stuff, which is why there's so many plot holes.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, Rebels several times contradicts the Clone Wars.
Yeah.
And both of them are being contradicted by the Mandalorian.
Mm-hmm.
So it's if you're in charge of shows like that, at least keep your own continuity, because it should be easy, because the story would be in your head, right?
Yeah. Yeah. So we have this here, and so the whole like this, like I said, Thrawn trilogy, Heir to the Empire, is the most like what opened up the EU and everything, and gave us more information about what's going on with Han and Leia. Leia's pregnant, of course, in here, and that's not going to happen in the new lore because her child is already born, right? And so we have that. That's another contradiction and stuff. But what's so great about this story and why people loved it so much is that we got to see, years later where Leia and Han are at, right? And they're expecting, and then where Luke is at in his state and, trying to fulfill the wishes of his masters, and a new threat, which is Thrawn. They didn't know that Thrawn existed. They thought they got all the Grand Admirals, and that was even stated by, I think Mon Mothma or Thalia, or one of those two, or maybe both. But they thought they accounted for all the Grand Admirals, right? Whereas in the new lore, they already fought them. They already fought Thrawn in the Rebels before A New Hope. So they already know
and they know he's useless because they defeated him several times.
Yeah. And so we have this here, and we have this beautiful story here about the evolution and even you know, the Jedi or the new Republic forming, you know, and all this other stuff. And we have their missions and all of this stuff here. And I think it's very phenomenal. And I'm going to go ahead and share some clips here.
Amy Stahl says, didn't Disney get rid of the EU so they could be creative and make new stories?
Correct.
How is taking the outline of a beloved EU story and making stand-in characters for actual characters creative? It isn't. And they've done the same thing with the Bad Batch. And they did it a lot on Rebels. I mean, they gave Ezra basically has the same starting story as Wedge from the comics. Identical. He's being chased Aladdin style at a marketplace by Imperials for having stolen food.
Yeah.
And Filoni gave Django's backstory to the Mandalorian lead. And the Bad Batch, they ripped off the Republic Commando books written by Karen Travis, who actually quit back in the day because of Filoni, because Filoni screwed up the lore and the continuity. And she was told to fix it retroactively. She couldn't, so she quit.
Yeah. Let's see here. Open up. Thank you. All right. So let's see here. I am going to share something with you guys. Many of you guys may know of this. Let me see if I can. This is canon number 1. So 1994. And again, the success of Thrawn Trilogy, I guess you could say, was the gateway of creating this and realizing fans want a consistent story, right? They want a great continuity. So in the beginning, on the first day, he created a galaxy filled with stars and nebula. On day 2, he placed the planets and moons, Tatooine, Hoth, Dagobah, Endor. On day 3, he set 2 moons over Tatooine, swathed Dagobah in swamps and mist, froze the tundras of Hoth, and spouted dense forests on Endor. On the 4th day, he populated those wondrous places with a variety of denizens, some humans, some aliens, and some constructed of metal. Both are computer chips. And creatures went by the name of Luke Skywalker, Han Solo, Princess Leia, Lando Calrissian, Ben Kenobi, Darth Vader, Jabba the Hutt, Chewbacca, Wicket the Ewok, C-3PO, and R2-D2. On day 5, he gave them technology, blasters, ion cannons, lightsabers, X-Wings, Star Destroyers, snow speeders, speeder bikes, and the Millennium Falcon. On the 6th day, he created the Force, a power distinguishing good from evil, light from dark. Okay. Then then he surveyed his galaxy and declared it Star Wars. But George Lucas didn't rest on the 7th day. Instead, he continued to grow the galaxy, imbued his figurative progeny, LucasArts and Lucasfilm licensing, with the powers to expand Star Wars universe beyond the perimeters of the initial movie trilogy. Amazing, right? 1994. This is where what we started getting was a continuous, seamless continuity. And that is very much well written. And that's the beginning of the article there. So I'll share more of the clips. So that is very creatively written and well done right there, just to kind of expand on the continuity as well. So, and then let me pull up the other ones here. I wish there was like a way, and if there is a way where I can just like zoom through each one of them without any problems, then let me know. So let's see here and share. And here's the continue. There's like 4 pieces to this and it's not showing up. There we go. And here's this one here. The Gatekeeper. So who in the Guardian of the Intergalactic Pearly Gates? Who is the Guardian? Our St. Peter is Lucasfilm Licensing Vice President Howard Rothman. Several years ago, we made the decision with George to open up the Star Wars universe beyond the scope of the first trilogy and independent of whatever the next trilogy would hold, said Rothman. George provided us with and I'll share some more. Let's get out of that one here. Wrong one. And let's, come on, work with me, buttons. All right. There we go. Share. And share. It's like slow on my end. I don't know why. I don't have anything else running, but here we go. Share. All right. Some general guidelines about, so George shared some general guidelines, get this, about what we could and couldn't do, because it all matters, right, you guys? For instance, we could do stories in the same period a couple of generations before Star Wars, because that's when he planned to focus the next trilogy. However, we could extend the fantasy after Return of the Jedi. Lucasfilm licensing serves two functions. They make sure all new material is consistent with the films, consistent in its portrayal of the rebels, the Emperor's conflict, consistent in how to introduce characters of different races, cultures, and even consistent in design direction. Additionally, licensing make sure the new material from different sources is consistent. Our aim is to have a lot of cross-fertilization. Get this, cross-fertilization between mediums, meaning they all go together, right? This validates the universe for fans. Yes, continued Ruffin. We are building an integrated team that's producing product in the in this integrated universe. The result is a universe so carefully and explicitly evolved that it begins a parallel to our Milky Way in its diversity, logic, and believability.
Terminus in the chat is asking who Gargamel is. Gargamel is the guy who's hunting the Smurfs.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. So people don't know about those stories, huh?
That's what they turned Thrawn into on
yeah.
Rebels.
And then Lost Jedi says, Leia, being a strong, independent woman, was actually pregnant with twins before Kylo was born, but she got an abortion. The clinics saved the fetuses to make Snoke clones. Oh, Lord.
Sadly, that's actually very believable in the real world.
Oh, my God. No. And then is that passage based off the start of the Bible? I haven't read since I was like 3. So those who know the Bible very well may know that it was creatively done. Like, I like what they said about that, because he is the creator, right? He is the creator of Star Wars. And it says, what magazines, articles are these passages from? This is from the Insider 94. It's 1994, and I forget the issue number. I have to look it up again. But 94. Yeah, it's 94. And
Rocking
then
Bay 94.
Terminus says, excuse my ignorance, Stig, but who? Oh yeah, you already read that one. And then I remember the name, but not where it was from. Yeah, that's fine. That's cool. And so there's another one that expands more on that, but I think this says everything about after, the Thrawn trilogy came out, and even Dark Empire, because they came out kind of together at the same time, that the decision from that time on was to start creating a constant, or a cohesive EU. And that's why fans get so upset with what Disney did. That's why fans, feel disenfranchised for being alienated within the lore, and then saying, what you've known and loved from the past is no longer, relevant to us and relevant to the story, even though it has been made relevant to the story, right? So that's why we were very disenfranchised and upset, and kind of a lot of us would step away. And then now people are saying, oh, well, and even the creators in the new lore are saying, well, we're throwing you EU fans a bone. That's not honoring us, and that's not honoring the EU. You already slapped us in the face with saying it doesn't matter anymore. Now you're saying, oh, well, here you go. We've thrown you a bone, so shut the F up. That's how I see it.
Yep.
And so when we look back at these stories and we see, them shoehorning the story in there, there's a reason why a lot of us get upset, or a lot of us just walk away, say our piece and walk away.
Well, the reason why they're doing it is because it works. It worked with The Mandalorian. It was basically every episode had a bunch of member berries. The show dangling the keys in front of the kid, right?
Mm-hmm.
To make the kids scream with joy. It was basically what it was. It just put stuff from the movies in there, and that's what people were cheering for, right?
Yeah.
I actually can't remember having seen anyone brag about Pedro Pascal's character.
Yeah.
I don't remember anyone saying that that's a great character.
No one has.
No, the stuff that got bragged about was, oh, we got to see Boba Fett, we got to see the Scout Troopers, oh look, dark sabers and that HK droid, and then Luke. That's what they were cheering for.
Yeah.
I never saw anyone cheering for the main character at all.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like it's just pitiful. It's really, really pitiful. And so we have Luke here, and he's fighting the Nogri. And I know Stig brought this up, is that, Rook wouldn't work in anything now going forward because he's dead, right? Well, we have the Nogri here, and they have a reason for who they are, why they are pursuing Luke here, why they pursue Leia, who is in charge of them, what have you. And that goes back to the Clone Wars. That goes back to even the formation of the Empire, is that during the Clone Wars, their planet was destroyed by, by the war and stuff. And I'm just saying this in short. And then Vader comes in, and he basically, after a little confrontation and what have you, he says, we'll help you redeem your planet and and heal your planet from its destruction from the Clone Wars, basically. And in return, we want your sons. We want your sons to be our assassins and blah, blah, blah. And so they feel obligated because they see Vader as a kind of like I wouldn't say God, but something like that. What would you call him to them? Like a emperor or high authority or whatever. And that's why they revere like Leia as the Malari Ush, and Our Lady Vader, and the son of Vader, Luke right there. But they act that way because they feel that they are they are paying debt back to Vader and the Emperor and stuff for helping restore their planet, right? And then they find out that they were betrayed. And that's basically is a little small plot line for Thrawn's defeat as well. Like he had it coming at all directions, right? And that's really significant.
Yeah, and just to add to that member berry thing, though, that we see it in the Bad Batch too, right? And Rogue One was full of it as well. It's a trick because when you see characters, droids, what have you, or ships from the old trilogy that everyone likes, right? As soon as you see that again and from a new angle at a new planet, what have you, it's it just triggers nostalgia, which tricks you into thinking it's good because you remembered that ship from those movies you watched 50 times.
Yeah,
it's almost like a little psychological trick,
right.
And I've actually asked a lot of people that say Rogue One was awesome, and I'm like, which character did you like?
Yeah.
And then they go quiet.
Yeah.
And they're like, well, Donnie Yen was pretty cool, and but all of them keep saying the Vader scene, Vader just massacring some rebels in the hallway, and I'm like, that's not even a story. That's just an action scene. It's like Mortal Kombat, flawless victory, right?
Yeah.
But nobody really goes and says, the Jyn Erso was a fantastic character. I never heard that. Nobody likes Cassian Andor.
Yeah.
No, he's probably the dullest character out there. He's getting a TV show, by the way. But
I know.
So nobody can really pinpoint what they liked about the story or which character they liked and all that. It's always just it's just the Vader scene.
Yeah, exactly. And then so to expand on that a little bit more, so we have Luke here. He's still, I would say kind of green when it comes to using the Force, right? He's still growing. He's still growing in the Force. He is not OP here at all. In fact, he does have struggles. Like he can't even. It took him a while for him to even ward off the Nogri, right? And all of that. And there's other instances in the Thrawn trilogy where I made a video about this, about him in Heir to the Empire, and even in the Hand of Thrawn, and even in Hand of Thrawn, where it's years later, like a decade or so later, and he's still having a hard time defeating the droids, right? And then we get Mandalorian, where he rushes in, he crushes everything, gets through, and saves the day, right? And this is the same time period, right? This is Heir to the Empire is the same time.
Yeah, Heir to the Empire is about the same time as the Mandalorian. But it's so weird to see people go, "Oh yeah, I've been a fan for 40 years. Awesome, got to see Luke," and then they refer to him as Grandmaster Luke. And I'm like, if you've been a fan for 40 years, you know that it takes more than 5 years to become a Grandmaster. Luke shouldn't even be a master at that point, because you can only become a master after you've successfully trained an apprentice to Jedi Knight level, right?
Yeah.
Obi-Wan wasn't a master until Anakin became a Jedi Knight.
Yeah. Right.
Basically, you're a Padawan, you become a knight. When you're a knight, you can train an apprentice. If you train an apprentice and the apprentice becomes a knight, you become a master. That's it. That's how it works. So Luke hasn't trained anyone. He's still a Jedi Knight during the Mandalorian. If someone says he's a master at that point, they're clueless. That there's just a Jedi Knight.
Right.
And
right.
If they had done the Dark Troopers justice, Luke would have been dead. If there was only 2 of them.
Yeah.
Because they have so much firepower, you can't block that shit. They have missiles, all kinds of crap. He'd be overwhelmed.
Yeah. Yeah. And like I said, I did a video on this, and I do have some down likes on it, and that's fine. It's fine. You don't have to agree with me on that. But when you look at it analytical, and you really know Luke's story in the EU versus now what they did for nostalgia to get you pumped, right? That was all that was about. He is way too OP in the Mandalorian, and then so you don't believe he can even become the Jake Skywalker in the sequel trilogy or the Disney trilogy. It doesn't make sense.
Yeah, it actually proves what I said, that which is what Filoni does. Whenever the heroes comes close to the the threatening villain, that villain loses his threat by being either incompetent or losing his skill.
Yeah.
I mean, Luke is chopping down those Dark Troopers like they were Roger droids.
Yeah, and he couldn't even do that in Hand of Thrawn. Him and Mara, he had someone with him just maybe almost as strong as him. She's strong in her own right, and she has different training than him, so she has different tactics than him, right? Because she was the Emperor's hand. But they couldn't even. They had a hard time fighting off the droids there in the Hand of Thrawn, in the chambers of where in Thrawn's chambers where his clone is being developed, right? And his living quarters, basically, because that's what basically revealed is his living quarters. So once he's out, he has living quarters, and they couldn't even defeat them. Like, they had a hard time. They eventually did, but it was a huge struggle. And that's like what I said, like what, a decade later, maybe. And I don't have the timeline in front of me, but I know it's years later. And so that's why I said it's not believable that he can go in there and crush and do this and do that in a time frame where he's still growing, and he's still learning, and he still has a lot of a lot of growth to do. So, and people are like, oh, well, no, it's blah, blah. I get it. You guys loved it. We all wanted to see that with Luke in later in the movies, right? We all wanted to see that. So finally we do. And we think, oh, it's the best thing ever. When you got to think logically that
that's the thing. People don't think. They just see their favorite action figure on the screen and then they cheer. Blue Pig is asking where the name Jake comes from. Well, Mark Hamill said it. He said the character he was playing in the sequel trilogy was not Luke Skywalker. He said it was Jake Skywalker or something.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because he didn't feel like Luke at all to Mark Hamill.
Yeah. And then Jefferson, hello, good morning. He says, better late than never. Got my espresso, recently read Heir. I'm ready. Awesome. And go ahead and share with me in the chat, Jefferson, what you thought of that. So I'm going to go ahead and move forward on this image here. But with this, when you read about the encounter with Luke and the Nogri inside, I guess you could say their museum building or whatever that was, historical building or whatever it was, what did you think about that? Because he did have some struggle and all that. So what did you think about that, Stieg?
Well, he even since Truce at Bakura, which takes place like hours after Return of the Jedi.
Yeah.
He struggled. He struggled all the way through the EU.
Yes, he did.
He got powerful, maybe too powerful near the end, to be honest. I thought it was a bit much. And even Wilkins said that too, that the writers always had the Luke Skywalker problem. Because they needed to come up with villains and stuff that would be a threat to him.
Yeah.
So, and I think in one book they gave him an injury just to hamper him, so the villains wouldn't get killed right away. So Luke did become overpowerful in the EU. I mean,
yeah, that's years down the line, though.
It is, but imagine Yoda had more years and he wasn't that powerful. So they gave him too many powers, I think.
And then I could easily say, well, him compared to Yoda, he is the son of the chosen one, which, it's a, it's an easy cop out, I guess you could say, to say, but in reality, he's still stronger than Yoda, but still, I get the point. I do get the point. And I still think myself that he was well done in the EU, even towards the end of it, where he starts stepping away. And yes, we realize even in his OP-ness, I guess you can say, towards the end, towards like Fate of the Jedi, he still had significant struggle. He still had significant fears. He still had, a lot of
character struggles, but he didn't have skill struggles much.
Yeah, there was some skills, but I get what you're saying, like towards the end. But then again, we never got to see a Jedi fully developed. Like we got to see them fully grow. And then being the son of the chosen one, he's supposed to have mirrored his father and how his father was supposed to be, in a sense.
Well, son of the chosen one shouldn't mean a damn thing, really, because the chosen one was the chosen one.
Well, I know that.
It's not like if you're the son of or daughter of the chosen one, you're kind of half a chosen one.
I'm not saying that. I'm what I'm saying that is that the abilities and like the inheritance force abilities and stuff like that, and even with George saying, he is the strongest Jedi of, I guess you could say, the time period, and so on and so forth. So we get to see, and even he became what Anakin was supposed to be. So I'm not trying to say, defend any of this either. I'm just saying that, I think that in conclusion, I think that his development through the timeline was well done. Yes, I understand that they had to come up with different threats to, in accordance to his growth and stuff. And it could be like, oh crap, no one can defeat him now, which, and
they have to come up with Abeloth, which is basically like a force god, and but I think, Wilkins said this, that after Crucible, they were going to put the old characters in the background big time.
Oh yeah, they were. That's what the plan was, because even towards the end of the novel there, Luke's like, okay, the order will do good without me. Ben is fine. He, blah, blah, blah. So we've seen the torch being passed on. And that's where I see, like people say, and I'm going to get into this now. I told you, Stig, we were going to talk about this, is that people see Thrawn Trilogy as the sequel, right? As the sequel to Return of the Jedi. And I have to disagree. I do. And the reason why I disagree with that is because the sequel trilogy is the torch being passed on, right? So we get the sequel trilogy is about the grandkids. This is only the introduction of the grandkids. Nothing's being passed down.
Yeah, exactly. The Crucible book pretty much sets up George's sequel trilogy.
It does. If you think about it logically, if you think about it, because Luke is stepping away. He's gonna, he sends Jedi off to find a way to kill or imprison Abeloth, right? Because even though she seems like she's gone, people have visions of her tentacles. Luke still has a piece of her tentacle inside him through the Force and in his belly. And
well, it fits with what Lucas told the EU writers to do and not to do as well.
Right.
But they could kill off Leia, but they chose not to. But he said, don't touch Luke. And in George's sequel trilogy, Luke was supposed to be in exile for some reason.
Yeah.
And Luke in Crucible, doesn't he leave? He says he's going on a vacation. He leaves.
Yeah, he's going on sabbatical.
Yeah, so he's basically going into exile somewhere. He's heading off. So it sets up the sequel trilogy that Lucas wanted to do. And I see a lot of people claiming that, the Darth Maul thing is a sequel trilogy. It isn't. That's from a scrapped video game. The Darth Maul and Darth Talon thing. Yeah, it's not from Lucas's sequel trilogy at all.
Yeah, he had the idea of wanting it, and then it eventually evolved into the game. If you look at the history and you read the article regarding the game producers and stuff like that, that idea of using them for a sequel trilogy evolved to the game only. And that was in early stages of planning and production, and then it got nixed.
Yeah. And people are going, well, Talon wouldn't fit because she's in the Legacy comics. Well, if she's frozen in carbonite at some point and then wakes up before the Legacy thing, then yes, it would fit.
Yeah.
So the Darth Maul and the Talon thing is not the sequel trilogy. And Crucible, and if you look at what he said, what George said about the sequel trilogy in that interview, he said it was going to be the sequel trilogy was going to be about Anakin's grandchildren, plural, mind you, not just one.
Right.
And he said it's no secret; they're already in the books and all.
Right.
Yeah, that's Ben and Jaina.
And Ben, Jaina, and of course, Anakin and Jason are dead already, right? And so Crucible does set it up because. Go ahead.
Who was it that told him to kill off Anakin Solo?
George.
Yeah, imagine that. Got him out of the way because he didn't want another Anakin with a prophecy.
Right. He didn't want to have a repeat of Anakin. He didn't want that repeat. He wanted something different with a different grandchild. I mean,
connecting the dots at this point is very easy.
Yeah.
If you don't read Screen Rant and shit like that.
Yeah.
And don't listen to YouTubers with sources because they don't have sources.
Yeah, exactly. Right. So you're correct here. And I did my research too, and I did watch that. A YouTuber called Bombastic interviews the director of the Maul game, and he said it was an idea Lucas had for that became the game. Yeah. It went from to the game. It made sense to do it in a game because a game doesn't necessarily have to be canon, right? And so you got the opportunity to open, expand, and have this battle of Sith Lords, basically, and it would have been a friggin' fun game. I bet you guys would have ate that up.
I know exactly why they were doing a game like that.
Okay.
Because you have two characters, Maul and Zana. Maul and Talon.
Yeah.
Which means multiplayer.
Mm-hmm.
Multiplayer games, especially the split screen two-player ones, were very popular at the time. You had the Gears of War games were at their peak during that time. That's made for two-player co-op. You have the Left 4 Dead games had split screen two-player co-op. Two-player co-op games were all over the place. They had even had Lord of the Rings ones.
Yeah.
So a two-player co-op game with Maul and Talon, it fits the time, big time.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
Look at that. Luke using a move he saw Vader use in Return of the Jedi.
Right. Bam. There we go. And I was thinking that too. And I was like, that's very significant because you do learn by observing other Force users, right?
Yep.
He observed his father. And that's the significant of this, is that he is still growing and learning. He picked up something, a new technique. He had a hard time defeating the Nogri here. And he learns quickly. We know that. He's a quick learner.
Oh,
and
little side note. For those of you in the chat that wants to know about all the other canceled Star Wars games, there's a channel called Game Lord Dash.
Okay.
He did a great video about all the canceled Star Wars games. There was a canceled Call of Cthulhu game too, because it was going to be a trilogy. Of a Jedi Knight 3, basically.
Yeah.
Which was going to flesh out Kyle and Jan Ors a lot more, which is why they're not in the novels, because they were kind of put on hold for gaming purposes. But the guy who was in charge of Lucasfilm Games at the time kept canceling all kinds of great ideas for some reason. The guy was terrible, which is why Lucasfilm Games got closed.
Yeah.
It was not doing well when Disney closed it.
Yeah.
It was struggling hard. And Soul Assassin put the link. Yeah, Game Lord Dash. That's the guy. He has a video about that, and it's a 10 out of 10.
Yeah.
Piles of stuff I didn't know about.
Right. And I did watch that too. I think you told me to go watch it, and I did watch that. So it's a great video if you want to learn more about that part of Lucasfilm, and all that. And, so we have Luke here again, Heir to the Empire, phenomenal book. It's what opened up the EU. It's what got fans really into the EU and then caused the EU to really make money between the movies and keep Star Wars alive during the time frame of no movies and stuff. And I think it's very significant. Now, for myself, I have recommended Heir to the Empire, but for myself, and I've also recommended the book I'm going to talk about. I did my first EU read was Truset Bakura, because I do get OCD at times and want to read the first novel of the series and stuff. And I don't think that was a misstep. I really enjoyed Truset Bakura because we got to see events like hours after Endor, how Luke is feeling, and like what the strain of being blasted with force lightning does to the body, and and him still working things out and his fears. Again, Luke is the kind of person that perseveres, and he may have to step back a little bit, but he doesn't run away, right? And that's what has caused us to be disillusioned with the new Star Wars, is how Luke was betrayed or portrayed. We were betrayed.
But it seems like all you need to do is have Luke swing a lightsaber. That's it. That's all they have to do.
Right.
Yeah.
And so, I read Truset Bakura, and I still recommend, if you really, really want to know exactly what happened right after Endor and get a gist of what's going on, then that's perfectly good read. However, I do understand why people say Heir to the Empire or Thrawn Trilogy, because the way the introduction is in Heir to the Empire with Thrawn, and then later on with Luke and Obi-Wan chatting about his fears and him being the last Jedi and how he's not, and how these, going forward, he's going to meet allies that he will not even have considered to be an ally. Right. And then also Ben saying, I have to go, that we all have to make this journey. You can't stay a Force user for very long. And that allows Luke to grow on his own. That allows the master to step away and allow the apprentice to grow. And I think that's significant. And so those in the chat, let me know, what was your first read? Was it Heir to the Empire? Was it something else? Stig already shared what he read. So what did you begin with when it came to the EU? Are you still looking to get into the EU? Just let us know. I mean, no judgment here whatsoever. Everybody starts either with a game, a comic, a novel, what have you. So share in the chat.
Actually, well, my introduction to Star Wars as a whole wasn't the movies.
Okay.
It was Star Wars Marvel number 75.
Mm-hmm.
It's when they're on that water planet.
Yeah. Okay.
That's my Star Wars ground zero. I had not watched the movies before that. And then after the movies, though, I think it was the X-Wing games.
Mm-hmm.
X-Wing and TIE Fighter, and then Dark Forces.
Yeah.
And then 10 years later or something, after a few other games, I saw a friend of mine had Star Wars books. I didn't even know they had books.
Yeah.
So he told me to read them, and I bought. I was reading Bob Salvatore's, the Dritz books, the Dark Elf.
Okay.
Stuff, and I saw an interview with him on his homepage where he was talking about Vector Prime. He was writing a Star Wars book, and I was like, okay, I like this writer, so I bought Vector Prime, and I was like, damn, this is good. And
Yeah.
the first Star Wars book I ever read, and I killed Chewie. I was like, shit.
You're like, no, not Chewie, no. But it was great, right? It was great. No matter how emotional you got with it, it was still great because it still kept in character with Chewie. He was that kind of warrior.
Yeah, and it was actually a little bit by chance as well, because I was reading the Wheel of Time series by Robert Jordan, which was going strong at the time, and I had caught up, so I was waiting for the next book.
Yeah,
and so I needed something else to read in the meantime. So I was just, I was at a friend's playing D&D, and I looked at his bookshelf.
Yeah,
I was like, Star Wars, okay. So it was actually a bit by chance.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. That's amazing. I love those stories. And we have Abu Nassin here, and your name is not entered for the drawing. And we do have Jedi Padawan trailer as well. Thank you for coming. And your name is also entered to win, or a chance to win. Heir to the Empire. My mom was a member of one of those book clubs, and there was a big advert for in it that she showed me.
You know what?
Whatever
happened to proper book clubs? They seem to have gone.
Yeah.
There used to be, I remember people, neighbors and stuff, people in the vicinity. When I grew up, there was at least 2 book clubs. Yeah. And they would all get the same book, and probably from the same place, like a monthly book or something. And then they do the book club stuff. It's awesome. But what happened to that?
I don't know. It's just like, we came into more of an electronic type society, social media, all of that. It's like the books, like just to sit down and read a book, and, like even the book smell, like especially old books.
Yeah.
Awesome.
That
really kind of thing with it. What?
Book clubs. And this is something like I've been thinking about a lot. Back when we grew up, I'm going to need 5 minutes to explain this.
Okay.
But when we grew up, right? And probably everyone in the chat as well. And feel free to disagree with me as well, though. The living room was important because the family would gather in the living room and watch TV on a Sunday, maybe, or on a Saturday night, maybe, or make pizza and rent a movie, stuff like that. It was the living room was the family room.
Right.
the living room is dead because of all the cell phones and tablets and stuff. People are sitting in their own rooms, watching Netflix on their phones or whatever, or everyone has a TV in their room, right?
Right.
So the living room is dead. And the same thing has happened with movies, because I was talking to Geek Blend about this, and we were talking about renting videos. Remember that? Yes. Renting videos with some friends and stuff on a Saturday night, that was a big deal.
Right.
And you had to pick a good movie too, otherwise your friends would scold you, right?
Right.
So
and then
that was
all that.
Yeah, that was like a big ritual about that. And it happened in every country too. It wasn't just in the United States or anything. It happened identical in Norway.
Yeah.
That's gone too, because now we have Netflix, and it's like the soul has been ripped out of that, because browsing for a movie on Netflix isn't the same as going to an actual physical, Blockbuster or something, and you see the covers and you read on the back of the cover and you go, "Oh, cool! Eddie Murphy's in this one. It has to be good because everything he was in was good."
Right.
Now it's just you'll browse through and then you'll pick a movie, and if it seems to not be good after the first 20 minutes, you just find another one.
Right.
So the whole thing is gone. And I think the same thing has happened with books, because you have electronic books now. And apart from stuff like what we're doing with the book reviews and all that, I don't see book clubs anymore. The people, visiting each other to talk about books like they used to.
Yeah.
So all of these things, and I think it's tied together. It has to do with the convenience of the internet, because the TVs and stuff are all hooked up to the internet right now.
Right. Yeah.
So I think convenience has killed the living room, Blockbuster, book clubs, and I guess arcades too. Yeah, I don't know if people in the chat.
Oh, I loved going to arcades. Like there was one that used to be in our shopping area, and it was like kind of an L-shaped shopping area, and so the very corner and the very area where the two buildings meet is where the gaming, where the arcade area was, and so I remember my grandmother going shopping for groceries and stuff, and if she didn't need me, I'd grab a few coins and I'd go over there and play pinball or whatever, or Pac-Man or whatever, and then and at a certain time I'd have to leave, and there'd be times I'd be playing, I'm like, oh shit, I'm doing really good, and I have to go back because I need to help my grandma or whatever, or even as a child riding my bike over there and playing games. And that was the times, and they don't have that anymore. They don't have that for the kids because they don't want to go ride their bikes. They don't want to go and and play those kind of games. It's like everything is so convenient these days. It takes a lot of physicality and a lot of of that out, and it's a shame. It's a shame. And speaking of literature review, this Saturday at 1 p.m. we are reviewing X-Wing Rogue Squadron. So just like we talked here about the classic, we are going to address the classic X-Wing Rogue Squadron book. And yeah, I will probably have a small discussion on what is coming with this book, are supposedly coming. And so we'll address that a little bit, but literature review is basically an internet online book review that I encourage people to follow. Pick up the book. I've been so busy this last month because of things going on in my family's life right now that I haven't had a chance to post a lot about the book, but it's still going to happen. You have time to sit. If you have time to dedicate a couple of days, sit and read with the book, or like a few days. I would suggest the Audible to catch up, but it's abridged. And so you'll be missing some other plot points that may happen, or little details that may be happening that are maybe significant or fun to the story. So this Saturday at 1 p.m., X-Wing Rogue Squadron, the beginning of the X-Wing series. So on this channel, and with a panel. So I don't know if Stig's going to be there yet or not. I don't know if he finished reading it, but
I'm 70 pages in, so I doubt it.
Yeah, so we'll see. Never know. He might just sit and he's liking it so far, but it is a great book. And X-Wing is like, people will complain, we've never gotten any Star Wars without any Force users and Jedi or Luke or blah, blah, blah. This is the series. I'm like, this is where you're telling. You did not read the EU if you say that, because X-Wings is like a 10-book series and it hardly has to do anything with Force users. It's basically about the pilots.
We have the Dash Rendor book as well, and what's the 2 horror books? I mean, Death Troopers. That one doesn't have any Force in it. It's a shit book, though. I hate it, but
yeah.
But they do have a fair argument, though, because there's 250 books or something in the EU, or something like that. 200 books, I guess. And probably less than 20 of them have nothing to do with the Force.
Yeah.
So it is a fair argument, because remove the X-Wing books, there's Jedi in all of them.
Well, we got Han Solo, we have that or whatever, but yeah, it could be a fair argument, but then it still is debunked with this. So, and then they do have Corran Horn, but what I'm saying about this is the X-Wings is not about Force users whatsoever. It's about the pilots. So even if there is a Force user or 2 on the Rogue Squadron, it's not a focus, really. It's not.
No, not at all.
Yeah.
It's basically Biggles in space. If you remember the old Biggles books, World War One, it's basically that. Biggles plus Top Gun, maybe, in space.
Yeah. And then the Blue Pig Gaming says, should I read X-Wing or Thrawn Trilogy first? Me, I would say go chronological, but what do you say, Stig? What say you?
Well, neither of them affect the other.
No, they don't.
So you can just read whatever.
If you really want to see what happens how they gained Coruscant back and all that other stuff, I would say X-Wing, because then you understand. Then it, in a sense, then it ties in, because by the time you get to Thrawn, they already have Coruscant as the capital. So, and that's another reason why I was going to say that Heir does not fit in the new lore. Chandrila at the time period is the capital, and doing my research, they moved capitals around throughout the whole time frame. And so by the time we get to the Disney trilogy, by the time readers, those who like it, get to the Disney trilogy, the Hosnian is the capital. They move the capitals around, but Coruscant was never a capital after Return of the Jedi. In fact, Coruscant during that time frame is going through a civil war on their own. And so that's why Heir or Thrawn Trilogy won't fit into that, because we do have Thrawn, strategically planting cloaked asteroids around Coruscant to keep them out of the battle. And keeping them, confined and stuff. And if you know the history of Coruscant, they have the planetary shields. So they had to keep them activated in fear that one of the asteroids would fall down onto the planet and stuff. So that's another reason too. That is another reason, and why it won't fit. So there's so many reasons why. And so I cringe at people celebrating like, oh, they're going to do it. We just know it because of Mount Tantus. Oh my God, Mara Jade's going to be back. Oh my God, Thrawn, blah, 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 blah. And I'm thinking, really, the most beloved story that got the EU going, you don't care that they change it only because you get to see when they basically slapped us in the face and said it didn't matter. And now they're throwing us a bone saying, shut the fuck up. Yeah, I'm going to cuss now. And now you think it's okay to have it put in when it's not even going to be the story. It's not going to honor beat by beat, or even if it doesn't have to honor beat by beat, it's not going to honor the story. It's not going to honor the legacy that Heir to the Empire or the trilogy is, because it doesn't fit. It doesn't belong. It does not belong. whatsoever. And so it's like these last few days, it's like been sitting on my brain, sitting on my mind about this. And I cannot even fathom why people are getting so excited about that when the characters are not even going to be the same characters, only by name only. It's only because they want to see the images of these characters. They don't care whatsoever what has changed. They just get to see them on screen. And there's a huge difference. Seeing the character actually, beat by beat, or even just be themselves as they originally were created on screen is much more believable, much more, what do you call it? Worthwhile than just seeing a shell of a character that we wish that we could have seen them act out the way they're supposed to act out, right? So I do not understand why people think that this is okay. Why it's worth seeing when it's not going to honor the character whatsoever. I mean, look at Leia here. Look at Luke right here. Look at Luke. He's like, Han is basically saying, Leia needs to train, and they have their little talk, and she's like, okay, it looks like my break is over. Semester is now starting. And then Luke right here contemplates about, worrisome about training a Darksider, someone turning dark on him. And so we're going to start ending with that, is that, mind you, we're all starving for good Star Wars. I am done eating shit, right? I'm staying where the steak is still being served, and that's in George Lucas's EU. You can go ahead and enjoy your faux stories. That's fine. I'm not going to stop you. I am going to continue to compare and contrast. I am going to still continue to be that thorn in people's butt and letting you know this is not real Star Wars, that they're just taking and copying a story and bastardizing it. That's how I see it. I call it bastardization of something great, right? You can go ahead and enjoy that shit.
It's cannibalizing.
Yeah, I will sit here and enjoy my steak. And this story, this Heir to the Empire, Thrawn Trilogy, is what got the EU going. It should be celebrated. It should be left alone. It shouldn't be bastardized, right? It should be put in, I wouldn't say put on a pedestal, but it should be, you should protect it from being changed, right? You should be, protecting the legacy that it brought, instead of cheering on the rewrite, the remake. So there you go. So Stig, what do you have to say? What say you on how you feel about everything? Go ahead and let it out. This is your chance.
I've kind of all I do now is piss on Disney, really.
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to avoid Star Wars quite a bit now. It is difficult, given Twitter, and you get Star Wars all the time, right? But I've been going back to reading fantasy books and all that just to give my mind a break from it. But Disney Star Wars, as long as Disney Star Wars is canon, and that's all of it, right? Not just the sequel trilogy, because the sequel trilogy is just the tip of the iceberg now. As long as the Disney Star Wars is canon, Star Wars cannot be fixed due to the continuity issues, big continuity issues. So, and I'm trying to avoid the EU a bit too, because every time I read a story about Luke now, I can't unsee what Disney has done to him. So it's kind of like the Disney stench has affected my EU enjoyment. Does that make sense? So I've been trying to read more fantasy books, and then sprinkle it in with some Star Wars now. Yeah.
And I understand that not everybody can disassociate from one from the other. I can. That's why, I take the stance where I do, because I can say and give you guys, okay, this is not Star Wars. They're just bastardizing it, blah, 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 blah. and then go back and enjoy the classical original canon, the canon Star Wars. Like for instance, and yeah, we are wrapping up, but Leia here, she's training. Look at that. She's training. Now, this is another reason why this does not fit. During this time period, Leia refuses training. She tosses her lightsaber, basically, just like we may not have seen her toss it, but in the new lore, she basically tosses it. And I'm like, I don't want to be a Jedi. That's what she states because of, I guess, visions she's seen of her son or something. I don't know. But here she's training. It takes her a while to get from this point till we see her knighted in Darkness Trilogy. And it takes her a while. It takes her a significant while because her kids are grown. And Jason is on the verge of turning during that time. You know, he's on that cusp of turning, I guess you can say. And she finally becomes a Jedi. And her master is Saba 17. And she's a phenomenal character. I love her character. And it was a great match for her to have someone stronger than her to train her, because Leia is a strong character. She has a lot of strong characteristics, right? So it takes someone to match her up to train her. Mind you, Luke was capable because he does train her, but there's a difference between being trained by your family member than versus someone else, right? Because then you don't have that back and forth between your sibling and stuff like that. So I'll end with this. Leia training, you know, she's frustrated here, what have you. A great story, great phenomenal story, Heir to the Empire, the opening of the EU, creating a continuous continuity. So I recommend you guys, even if you don't start with Heir to the Empire, you know, go read Teresa Becker or go start somewhere or go revisit these books. Come to Literature Review at 1 p.m. We are reviewing the first book of the X-Wing series. And hopefully, if you haven't read them, this will get you into reading that series alone. Myself, I'll put myself on screen. I am wearing Sword of the Jedi t-shirt today in honor of Heir to the Empire. And Jaina is the one of the characters that was having the torch handed down to her to continue on the Skywalker and the Star Wars legacy, you know, what George envisioned as well. And so again, wherever you need to start at, or, you know, you can talk to me, you can even talk to Stig if you need to and ask where to start with, like, where do you want to start with, whatever. But this is where Star Wars is at. It's the classical. Again, I'm not telling you to, you know, what to do with your adventures in Star Wars. If you like both, then you do. However, for myself, I enjoy steak rather than ship. That's how I see that. So Stig, where can we find you?
On Twitter. That's it. And your channel on Thursdays. Jade Shadow on Wednesdays, most Wednesdays. That's it. Oh, Miss Martin Muses does Lord of the Rings talk. We're talking about the books chapter by chapter, basically.
Yeah.
But she's on holiday now, though, so I think the show is on holiday too. It's me and her and Lady Greymaster and Toriel. Nice. And that's a great little group right there. Much knowledge for that. I suggest, I haven't had a chance to go and watch any of the videos except for the first one. So I suggest you go and subscribe to her channel and follow on that one as well. Great lore. Also, so if you need like a little pause from Star Wars, go to that. That's a great pause. And again, all those channel members that came in to support, participate in the chat, your names are now put into the drawing to possibly win a copy of Mistress of Rattatak. So I have Lady Toriel, Miss Smart Muses, Dad Man Walking, Orange Hat Reviews, Abu Nas, and Jedi Padawan Trela. Thank you guys for coming in, and as well as everybody in the chat. Thank you. If you haven't had a chance to become a member of my channel, you still have the opportunity. I will provide other chances of winning, other different paintings I have in the works as well. I'm thinking of doing a Quinlan Voss. So Lady Toriel, if you are listening right now, there may be coming a Quinlan Voss painting as well. And any channel member, after I get everything ready, if you haven't won the painting, you can get 10% off your purchase of a copy of the painting. So there's still that opportunity. And then to end this here, Literature Review, 1 p.m. that Saturday. And then for all the channel members of mine and
of Open-Airlock or Tim's channel on the 23rd at 6:30. We're having the Hall of Knighthood, and it's just a member-only live stream. And everyone who attends that who are members, including Tim's channel, will have a chance to win the painting as well. So that's extended to Tim's members during that live stream. And so you have a chance of asking us questions. It doesn't have to particularly be with Star Wars. It's just a one-on-one intimate, like get to know you guys kind of, thing. And so we're looking forward to that as well. So again, I'm coming up to the end of this month. I will have a schedule out for September. I'm looking to have Miss Martin Muses as on for Talking EU. So I'm excited for that, as well as one more person that will be announced here soon. So again, thank you guys all for coming in and supporting. I had a great talk. Didn't talk too much. Well, I mean, we did talk about Heir to the Empire. We did get into the logistics of what everything's going on today, which is fine. So keep reading the EU, keep enjoying the EU, keep listening to it, whatever, playing it, whatever. We're keeping it alive and well by doing so. I know sometimes, like for Stig and people with similar thoughts, I guess you can say, or how ways of looking at it. Sometimes it's hard to disassociate the new lore from the old. So, sometimes taking small breaks and coming back a little bit at a time will help out. However, we are the ones that are keeping this going, keeping it alive, and other channels like Tim's and Matt Wilkins and such. So go ahead and subscribe to their channels and keep supporting as well. So thank you guys all for coming. And I truly enjoy my time for coffee chat next week. We'll get back into the comics. So thank you again. Thank you, Stig, for coming and hanging out and being a co-host. It's always a pleasure to have you. And may the force be with you.